CTV Calgary, local breaking news.
Good afternoon. Calgary has a new mayor-elect today in a very close race, and as the votes are counted, we'll get a better idea of who will sit on city council. Jeromy Farkas gave a victory speech to supporters last night.
We've shared a vision for Calgary that was positive, forward-looking, and built on respect for every dollar and respect for every person. We talked about a Calgary that grows wisely, where reaching 2 million people is not a crisis, but an opportunity.
Farkas got more than 91,000 votes. His margin of victory was less than 600 votes ahead of City Councillor Sonia Sharp, which means Sharp can ask for a recount. Farkas returns to City Hall 4 years after losing the mayor's race to Jyoti Gondek. Vote counting restarted this morning for city councillors. Preliminary results are expected late this afternoon. Elections Calgary says school board trustee results should be released this evening. Ballot counting is complete in some major southern Alberta communities. In Airdrie, Heather Spearman is the new mayor after longtime Mayor Peter Brown did not run. In Chestermere, incumbent Shannon Dean, who was first elected in a 2024 by-election, retains the mayor's chair. And in Okotoks, incumbent Tanya Thorne is re-elected as mayor. Only 38% of eligible voters in Calgary cast their ballots in the election, and many of those who did face long lines. Much of it stemmed from a new provincial requirement requiring every voter to fill out a statement of eligibility form. It's a declaration that they met the legislated criteria to vote in the election. The forms were filled out by hand, which led to long lines and delays.
We just came after work, so we thought it was going to be better like an hour later, but it wasn't. However, the volunteers are great. Like, it was really nice.
You come here, you want to vote, you want to participate in democracy and all that, but they make it so much more difficult that you don't really have, makes it a chore, really.
It gives you the vibe of like someone doesn't want you to vote when you set up a system and you make loopholes to jump in. It makes people not want to do something.
In a statement to CTV, a spokesperson for the Minister of Municipal Affairs blames municipalities for the lineups, saying in part municipalities have known about the new election rules and regulations since the spring of 2024, giving them ample time to prepare and make a plan so Election Day runs smoothly. And the province is looking at making even more changes to provincial and municipal elections. During the fall session, it plans to introduce new legislation requiring candidates to be vetted. The province says it wants to ensure candidates are serious about representing a community or a riding. The UCP says the proposed change is in response to recent initiatives targeting Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre.
We have seen instances around the country where certain interest groups have taken upon themselves to confuse, I think, in some instances, some of the those who are going to the ballot box and creating very long ballots. But in terms of our intent, again, is to clarify the process, make it easier for people who are genuinely interested in running for office to get on the ballot and convey their message.
The fall session of the legislature starts on Thursday. A Leduc man faces more luring and child pornography charges, and police say most of the young teen victims live in the Leduc area. Campbell Ferguson was arrested back in June following a report through CyberTip. At the time, 6 victims were identified, but police say an additional 23 have come forward. Ferguson now faces over 100 charges, including luring, sexual assault, and making child pornography. Police say the investigation is not over because they believe there are even more victims. Ferguson remains in custody. The province's police watchdog has determined an officer was justified in fatally shooting a man during a high-risk search warrant in Falcon Ridge just over 2 years ago. In October of 2023, police pulled over a car. Inside were 2 men suspected in an attempted murder. According to ACERT, one officer broke the driver's side window to reach one of the suspects when the other suspect in the back seat opened fire, hitting the officer in the arm. A second officer would fatally shoot the man in the back seat. ACERT says the force used by the second officer was necessary and reasonable. 2 Calgary men are facing charges for possessing guns, drugs, and stolen property. Police began investigating the men in August. They were suspected of selling drugs, guns, and stolen property. Officers executed search warrants in October in 2 southeast homes and a storage unit. They found rifles, handguns, and even an antique musket, along with methamphetamine and stolen property. Police say even though some of the weapons they seized were unusual, it doesn't mean they aren't dangerous.
Although some of you might be thinking that some of these weapons look older, disused, or antique, some definitely fall into that category. And the thing to remember with these firearms is it's not necessarily the model, make, or the technological advancement of that particular weapon, but the hands of the people that they're in.
31-year-old John Worstrow will remain in custody until his court appearance on Friday. 41-year-old Ryan Bantigan was released and will appear in court next Tuesday. New research shows Albertans aren't keen on replacing the RCMP. Polara Strategic Insights conducted a survey in August for the National Police Federation. It found 81% agree there are more important priorities for the province than changing who polices local communities. 76% of Albertans in RCMP-served areas are satisfied with their policing, and 71% say the public has not been properly consulted about replacing the RCMP. The Calgary Zoo is taking extra precautions following the confirmation of avian flu at Butterfield Acres. Out of an abundance of caution, it has closed the rainforest and Rocky Mountain aviaries. There will also be increased pathway disinfection at the Penguin Plunge. Butterfield Acres closed its petting zoo last Monday after some confirmed cases of avian influenza. Calgary's raccoon population is growing. More raccoons are being spotted around Calgary's green spaces and nearby neighborhoods, and one wildlife biologist doesn't expect the trend to slow. She chalks it up to milder winters, changing scavenging patterns of many animals. Places like Fish Creek Park have habitat spaces and resources, and so the critters are moving in.
They are finding ideal habitat in there. Those old spruce trees are creating excellent denning sites, and they're also finding lots of food in the park and also in the surrounding neighborhoods. They're starting to venture in there. So if we can keep them in the parks by not offering them extra food, we'll keep them in the parks, but that's a tough sell, I'm sure.
There's no official city count on just how many raccoons there are in Calgary, but wildlife groups and pest control companies say they've seen the population increase tenfold over the last decade. Thanks for joining us. We'll have more on the top stories coming up on CTV News at 5 and 6 or anytime online at ctvnews.ca/Calgary.